Hello all, this is John from EastCoastArmory.com and I'm here today with a Armortek model build tutorial. In this tutorial we'll go over locking a Armortek German swing arm. With the exception of the very first batch of Armortek Tiger 1s that were released, all of their German tanks featured this same setup. You have a steel axle here which retains the steel torsion bar like this. You have another steel axle, which is for your road wheels. And then in the center, you have a CNC'd aluminum swing arm. Everything is all designed to be threaded together, and you just simply screw it on. However, because of the way these swing arms are three pieces, they can lead to problems if they're not set right. The problem is that because the pieces are threaded, when the wheels are turning, they can unscrew from the axle, from the swing arm here. In addition to the wheel axle getting unscrewed, the swing arm that connects to the torsion bar can also unscrew. This is namely if the swing arm is as follows, and if the road wheel hits a bump, instead of it locking and grabbing the torsion bar, it will simply just rotate out of the way and stay in the up position. Obviously, this is less than ideal and can cause some serious problems. Fortunately, to fix the axle, it's a simple fix, which we will go over in this tutorial. To remedy the situation, a lot of builders in the past have relied on Loctite or thread lock, or other types of epoxies and adhesives to simply glue the whole unit together. The problem is that sometimes the procedure works and other times it fails. Another problem with epoxies and the adhesive method is that after a while, or due to climate changes, the epoxy will get brittle and weak over time, which will cause the pieces to get loose. This is why in all of my Armortek models, I prefer the pinning method. To pin the suspension swing arms together, you'll need the following equipment. First, you'll need your swing arms with the two axles threaded in. You'll need a hammer, a center punch, a pin with a matching size drill bit. As for the pin, you can use several types of materials for the same procedure. This one here, particular piece, is a steel pin from a pop rivet that had its pop rivet head removed. However, you can also use a nail or even a piece of brass rod like I have here. I've used all three of these materials in the past, and all of which were suffice for the procedure. As for the bit, obviously the bit is going to be used to drill through the swing arm, and the bit needs to be the same size as the pin that you are using. As for pin size, I like to typically use nothing above 3/32 of an inch. Anything above that will be slightly too large and could possibly weaken the swing arm, and that's something we want to avoid. So anything from 3/32 down to a 16 of an inch will be suffice for this procedure. As for the swing arm, the only prepping required is to fully thread on both axles to their absolute max so that there is absolutely no play and no gapping in between the swing arm and the axle. This procedure is the type of procedure that once done is permanent and you can't undo. So if the pieces are not threaded in properly, it's going to have a ripple effect that will lead to some very bad results down the road. So when you're installing the swing arm, make sure you simply just thread them on as tight as they can go so that everything is nice and tight as it should be. Another piece of equipment that is absolutely needed for this procedure is a drill press. Unlike some of the other procedures I've done in my previous videos, where if you don't have the machine tool, you can also achieve the same result with a hand tool, albeit it's not as practical as with the machine tool, but it's still possible. This is one procedure where that's not the case. Because of the precision that's required to drill a hole through both the aluminum swing arm and the steel axle, precision is required. A lot of precision is required that just is not available through that of a hand drill. As for the drill press itself, I'll be using this small little benchtop model that we see here. This drill press was purchased from Sears about 10 years ago, and these retail anywhere between $20 to about $40. Before you can start drilling the holes through the swing arm itself, you're going to need to put a small little divot via the center punch in these two locations here of the swing arm. The purpose of the center punch divot is that when you're going in with the drill bit is going to find the center punch, and it's just going to go all the way through. Otherwise, your bit's going to want to wobble around on you, and that is not exactly ideal. To line it up, you want to line up the center punch with the center portion here of the swing arm shaft and tap it with the hammer, which will put a nice little indentation in the aluminum. Do the same thing to the reverse side. Once all the center punches have been added to all the swing arms, it is then time to start the drilling. When you are ready to start drilling, make sure that everything is ready to go. This obviously means make sure that the table's at the right height, the bit of your choice is in the chuck and it's nice and secure, and you're going to need, it's also good to have a drill board as well as some ready source of cutting oil on hand. Now, because you're dealing with two types of metals, a soft aluminum and a hard steel, you're going to have to go nice and slow on the drill press to make sure that your bit doesn't snap or get overheated. It's also good for the oil to keep the bit nice and lubricated so it stays nice and sharp when doing the procedure. And we will now start drilling. First, put a drop of oil on the location. Turn on the press. Now, because of the size of the swing arm, a vise isn't necessarily needed to hold the piece down. You can easily do the drilling while holding onto the swing arm with your other hand, like as such. Throughout the process of the drilling, you're going to get a lot of filings to build up around the swing arm drill hole area. It's good to stop periodically to wipe away the filings so that you don't have a big mound of shavings on top of your swing arm, which can obstruct the view. In addition to obstructing the view, make sure wipe off any filings that are stuck on the bit and add another drop of oil. Once that's complete, you can then resume the drilling. After you're done drilling, you'll have two holes going straight through the swing arm and through the steel axle. It is at this point now I can insert the two pins and start the expanding process. For the pinning, I simply take my pin, I slide it into the hole, make sure it's nice, it's in there nice and tight, and I trim most of it off. I leave about a 1/16 of an eighth to an eighth of an inch a snippet remaining on each of the pins. To remove the pins, I use a simple wire cutter plier that we have here. And now that the pins are cut, I'm ready to start expanding. To expand the pin, I simply put the swing arm with the 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch nub sticking on top of the vise, and I just whack it with the hammer. I like to give both sides, I like to tap both sides with the hammer to make sure that both sides are expanded properly. Do this to both of the pins. After both of the pins are expanded, the pinning procedure is complete for this swing arm. Now continue the same procedure for all of the rest of the swing arms that are needed for the model, and after that you are ready to proceed with your build. once the pieces are expanded, they are permanently locked and will never unlock on you while the tank is in motion or if the tank hits a bump. And that concludes this Armortek 1/6 scale German model swing arm locking tutorial. If you like this video, stop by and like us on Facebook. And don't forget to check out eastcoastarmory.com for more 1/6 scale tank builds, as well as other 1/6 scale detail components. Thank you.